Millionaire CEO pushed his pregnant wife off the 6th floor. She landed on her billionaire ex's car. Elena's fingers gripped the cold metal railing, so hard her knuckles turned white. 6 months pregnant, 6 stories high, and her husband's hands pressed against her back with a force that left no room for doubt about his intentions. Please, Marcus. Please. Our baby. Think about our baby. Marcus leaned in close. His breath reeked of whiskey and something darker, something that made Elena's blood freeze. His voice came out in a whisper that somehow felt louder than a scream. You really think I ever wanted that thing inside you? You're worth $5 million dead. Elena, alive. You're just a liability I can't afford anymore. No, Marcus, don't do this. We can fix this. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it. There's nothing to fix. His hands shifted. Elena felt the pressure change from restraint to propulsion. Time slowed down in that impossible way it does when your brain knows something terrible is about to happen. She saw his eyes. Cold. Empty. The eyes of a stranger wearing her husband's face. I loved you. How can you? The push came hard and sudden. Her hands lost their grip. Her feet left the balcony floor. And then there was nothing beneath her but 6 stories of empty air and the concrete that would end everything. Elena's scream tore through December night as gravity pulled her down towards certain death. But what Marcus didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly known, was that directly below, a sleek black Rolls Royce was parked in the exact spot where Elena would fall. And inside that car sat the one man who had never stopped loving her. The billionaire ex-boyfriend who was about to witness the impossible. Before we dive deep into how Elena survived and what happened to Marcus, I need to know something. Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments right now. If you're new to the Dr. Samuel Chronicles family, welcome home. This is where we share stories that don't just entertain, but transform lives with powerful lessons you won't forget. Hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Trust me when I tell you, what you're about to witness will leave you speechless. Now, let's go back to where it all began. 2 years before that terrible December night, Elena Rodriguez was a completely different woman, 27 years old, kindergarten art teacher at Meadowbrook Elementary. She had this way of seeing the world through colors and possibilities that made even the grayest days seem brighter. Her students adored her. Parents requested her class specifically. She wasn't wealthy, not by any measure. She lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood where you could hear your neighbors' conversations through the walls. But Elena was rich in the ways that actually mattered. She had family who loved her, a career that fulfilled her, friends who showed up when life got hard, and a heart that still believed in the goodness of people. Despite everything the world had shown her, Elena came from immigrants. Her parents, Miguel and Carmen Rodriguez, had crossed the border from Mexico with nothing but hope and work ethic 30 years prior. They cleaned office buildings at night. Her father worked construction during the day. They never missed one of Elena's school events. Never let her go to bed hungry, even when they did. They taught her that dignity wasn't about your bank account. It was about your character, your word, how you treated people when no one was watching. By the time Elena was teaching, her parents were finally retired, finally resting, finally letting their daughter help them the way they'd helped her. She sent the money every month, visited every Sunday for her mother's cooking and her father's terrible jokes. She was happy, genuinely, simply happy. But there was one absence that created a hollow space in her chest, a space that had a name. Adrian Castellano. Elena and Adrian had met 9 years earlier at State University. Both of them were there on full scholarships. Both came from families where college was a dream, not an expectation. Elena was studying education. Adrian was double majoring in business and computer science, surviving on 3 hours of sleep and ambition that scared people. Their first conversation happened in the library at 2 a.m. during finals week. Elena was stressed, crying over an art history exam while eating stale crackers. Adrian sat down across from her without asking. You know, crying doesn't actually help you remember the difference between Baroque and Rococo, right? Elena looked up, ready to tell the stranger exactly where he could shove his commentary. But then she saw his face. Kind eyes. Exhausted smile. He was holding out half of his sandwich. But eating does help. And you look like you need this more than I do. That was Adrian. Observant. Generous. Direct in a way that felt refreshing instead of rude. They talked until the library kicked him out at 4 a.m. He walked her back to her dorm, even though his was in the opposite direction. 3 days later, he asked her to coffee. 6 months later, they were inseparable. For 3 years, Elena and Adrian built something beautiful. He supported her teaching dreams, even when his business professors mocked the low-income potential. She supported his entrepreneurial obsession, even when it meant canceled dates and forgotten anniversaries. They studied together, ate ramen together, dreamed together about the life they'd build when they finally made it out of survival mode. But then Adrian's first startup got serious venture capital funding. Suddenly, he wasn't just a broke college kid with big ideas. He was the founder of a company that could actually change his family's generational poverty. The 18-hour days became 20-hour days. The canceled dates became weeks without seeing each other. Elena would fall asleep waiting for him to finish just one more meeting. Adrian would wake up with his laptop on his chest and 17 missed calls from her. The breakup happened on a Tuesday. They were both 24, sitting in the same coffee shop where he'd first asked her out. "I love you," Adrian said. His voice cracked in the middle. "I love you so much it physically hurts. But I can't be what you need right now. And it's not fair to keep asking you to wait for a version of me that might not exist for another 5 years. Elena cried, not hysterical sobs, but quiet tears that somehow fell heavier. "I love you too. And that's exactly why I have to let you go. You need to build your dream. I need someone who's actually present in my life. No anger, no blame, just two people who loved each other but had incompatible timelines." They hugged for a long time in that coffee shop. Adrian kissed her forehead. Elena walked away first because she knew if she looked back, she'd never actually leave. That was 7 years ago. In those 7 years, Adrian built an empire. His first startup sold for $80 million. He invested every penny into real estate and tech companies run by founders from backgrounds like his. Immigrants, first-generation college students, people the traditional venture capital world ignored. By age 33, Adrian Castellano was worth $2.3 billion. He bought his parents a house, put his younger siblings through college, created generational wealth from nothing but intelligence and relentless work. But he never got serious with anyone else. A few dates here and there. Nothing that lasted more than 3 months. His friends joked that he was married to his work. His mother worried he'd die alone and successful. Adrian told himself he just hadn't met the right person. But the truth he barely admitted to himself, was simpler and more painful. He'd already met the right person. He'd just chosen wrong. He kept tabs on Elena from a distance. Not in a creepy way. Just occasional social media checks. Mutual friends who'd mention her in passing. He knew she was still teaching. Still in the same city. Still single. That last part shouldn't have made him feel relieved, but it did. Then 2 years ago, Adrian saw the post that shattered something inside his chest. Elena, radiant in a white dress. Beside her, a man in an expensive suit. The caption read, "I said yes to forever. Engaged to the love of my life, Marcus Thompson." Adrian stared at that photo for an hour. He didn't know Marcus personally, but he knew the name. Thompson Tech Solutions, a mid-level tech company. Not particularly innovative, but stable enough. Marcus had a reputation in business circles. Smooth talker. Came from money. The kind of guy who wore his watch loose, so people would notice the brand. Adrian told himself to be happy for Elena. She deserved love. She deserved someone who'd actually prioritize her. He sent a generic congratulations through a mutual friend. Then he threw himself into work even harder. Tried to bury the regret that was eating him alive. What Adrian didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Marcus Thompson was exactly the kind of man Elena should have run from. Elena met Marcus at a charity gala. She almost didn't attend. Her friend had an extra ticket. Elena wasn't into fancy events, but the cause was arts education for underprivileged kids. So she went. Marcus spotted her immediately. Later, He'd tell her it was love at first sight. That would turn out to be a lie. Like most things Marcus said. Marcus approached Elena with champagne and a smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. You look completely out of place here. I mean that as a compliment. Elena laughed despite herself. That obvious, huh? In the best way. Everyone here looks like they're playing a part. You look like an actual human being. I'm Marcus. Elena. And you're right. I definitely don't belong at events where the appetizers cost more than my weekly grocery budget. They talked for 2 hours. Marcus was charming, attentive. He asked about her teaching like it was the most fascinating career in the world. He made her laugh, made her feel seen. When he asked for a number, Elena hesitated for only a second before saying yes. The courtship was a whirlwind. Flowers delivered to her classroom. Surprise weekend trips. Expensive restaurants where Marcus always ordered for both of them in a way that seemed romantic instead of controlling. He love-bombed Elena with an intensity that overwhelmed her practical nature. You're everything I've been looking for, he'd tell her. You're real. You're good. You make me want to be better. 6 months in, he proposed. Elena's friends thought it was too fast. Her sister Rosa especially had concerns. There's something about him I don't trust, Rosa said over coffee. He's too perfect. Elena, like he's performing instead of just being. You just don't like that he has money, Elena replied, defensive in a way people get when they know somewhere deep down that the criticism might be valid. Not every successful man is fake, Rosa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I've watched him. When he thinks no one's looking, his face goes cold. Just promise me you'll be careful. Elena promised, but she didn't listen. She was 30, tired of being alone, tired of wondering if she'd made a mistake letting Adrian go. Marcus was here, present, offering her everything Adrian couldn't. So she said yes to the proposal, yes to the wedding, yes to forever with a man she didn't actually know at all. The wedding was beautiful. 200 guests. Venue overlooking the water. Elena's parents cried happy tears. Marcus's wealthy family looked vaguely uncomfortable mixing with the Rodriguez clan, but they were polite enough. Adrian didn't come. He was invited through mutual connections, but he sent an expensive gift and a convenient business conflict excuse. The honeymoon was perfect. 2 weeks in Italy. Marcus was attentive and romantic. Elena let herself believe she'd made the right choice, that this was her happy ending. The mask started slipping 3 months after they returned. It was small things at first. Marcus got irritated when Elena made plans without consulting him. He suggested she was spending too much time with her family. Maybe she should quit teaching. They didn't need the money. She could focus on getting ready to be a mother eventually, making their home perfect, supporting his career. I like teaching, Elena said. It's not about the money. It's about purpose. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course. I just think you have so much more potential than wiping snotty kids' noses. But it's your choice. Except it wasn't framed as a choice. It was framed as a test of her commitment to the marriage. To him, after 6 months of subtle pressure, Elena gave her notice at Meadowbrook Elementary. Her students made her cards. Her fellow teachers threw her a goodbye party. Elena smiled through it, while something inside her died quietly. Without her job, Elena became increasingly isolated. Marcus didn't like her friends. They were bad influences. Too loud, too dramatic, too whatever excuse made Elena choose them over them. One by one, her friendships faded, not dramatically, just slowly, through canceled plans and unreturned calls until the silence became permanent. Her family was harder for Marcus to eliminate, but he tried. Sunday dinners became occasional, then rare. He always had something important scheduled, a client dinner, a business emergency. Elena started going alone, and Marcus would be cold to her for days afterward. Eventually, it was easier to just not go. 12 months into the marriage, Elena barely recognized her life. She lived in a beautiful penthouse, wore expensive clothes, had a platinum credit card with no limit, and felt more trapped than she'd ever felt in her tiny childhood apartment where 6 people shared one bathroom. Then she got pregnant. Elena stared at the positive test for 15 minutes in the marble bathroom of their penthouse. She felt joy, terror, hope, confusion, all of it swirling together. She didn't know what Marcus would say. They'd never seriously discussed children beyond vague someday references. That evening, Elena made Marcus's favorite dinner, set the table with candles, practiced how to tell him. When he came home, he was distracted, stressed, barely acknowledged the effort she'd put in. "Marcus, I have something to tell you." He looked up from his phone with obvious impatience. "Can it wait? I've had the worst day, and I really don't need more complications right now. I'm pregnant." The silence stretched so long, Elena's heartbeat became audible in her ears. Marcus's face went completely blank. Not happy, not upset, just absent, like he'd left his body. "You're sure?" "I took 3 tests." "Yes, I'm sure." More silence. Then Marcus stood, walked to the bar, poured himself 3 fingers of scotch, drank it in one swallow, poured another. Okay, that's big news." His voice was flat, mechanical. Elena felt cold dread spreading through her chest. "Are you happy? We're having a baby, Marcus." "Our baby." He turned, arranged his face into something approximating a smile. "Of course. Yes, I'm just surprised. We weren't exactly planning this right now. But you're happy?" "I'm happy." Another lie. Elena knew it was a lie, but she wanted so desperately for it to be true that she chose to believe the words instead of the evidence. The biggest mistake she'd make until the balcony. For a few weeks, Marcus performed happiness. He came to the first doctor's appointment, held her hand during the ultrasound, took the grainy photo of their baby who looked like a bean with a heartbeat. But Elena noticed the way he looked at the image, like it was a problem to solve, not a miracle to celebrate. Then Marcus brought up the life insurance. "We should get serious about planning for the future," he said over breakfast one morning. "You're growing our child. We need to make sure you and the baby are protected if anything happens to me. Or you. That's morbid. It's responsible. I'm setting up a $5 million policy on you, just in case. And you should do the same for me." $5 million? Marcus, that seems excessive. "Nothing's excessive when it comes to protecting our family." He was insistent, kept bringing it up until Elena agreed just to stop the conversations. She signed the papers without reading them carefully. Another mistake. The policy made Marcus the beneficiary. $5 million if Elena died. Especially valuable if the death was ruled accidental. That policy became Marcus's solution to the problem he couldn't say out loud. His company was failing, hemorrhaging money for 2 years. He'd hidden it from Elena behind complicated financial structures she didn't understand. His gambling addiction had cost him another $3 million he'd borrowed from people who didn't accept payment plans. The penthouse Elena thought they owned, mortgaged to the breaking point. The cars, the watches, the lifestyle, all credit, all borrowed, all about to collapse. Marcus needed money. Fast. Millions of dollars. And suddenly, his pregnant wife was worth exactly the amount he needed if she died. The abuse started getting physical when Elena was 4 months pregnant. It was during an argument about money. Elena had noticed charges on their credit card statement that didn't make sense. Online gambling sites. Cash withdrawals of thousands of dollars. When she asked about it, Marcus exploded. "You questioning me? You think you have any right to question how I spend money when you're living off me like a parasite? I just want to understand what's happening. These charges, Marcus, it looks like gambling. Are you in some kind of trouble?" He grabbed her arm. Hard. His fingers dug into her skin, leaving marks that would bruise purple by morning. "Don't you ever accuse me of anything. You understand? Everything I do is to take care of this family. You're too stupid to understand business. You're hurting me." He squeezed harder for 1 more second, then released her like she'd burned him. His face changed, became apologetic, horrified. "God, Elena, I'm so sorry. The stress at work. I'm so sorry. I would never hurt you. You know that." Elena cradled her arm, said nothing. "Please, baby, forgive me. It won't happen again." But it did happen again, and again. A shove during another argument. A grip on her wrist that was just slightly too tight. He never hit her face. Never left marks anywhere visible. Marcus was too smart for that. And after each incident, He'd apologized so convincingly that Elena almost believed he meant it. She started walking on eggshells, monitoring her words, avoiding topics that might trigger his anger. Classic abuse dynamics that she would have recognized instantly if it was happening to anyone else. But when you're inside the nightmare, you can't see the shape of it clearly. At 6 months pregnant, Elena found evidence that made denial impossible. She was looking for the iPad to pull up a recipe, found Marcus's laptop instead, left open on his desk. He was in the shower. She didn't mean to snoop, but the screen showed his browser history. And what Elena saw made her blood freeze. Search after search. Life insurance payout, how long? Can spouse collect insurance if death is accidental? Balcony railing height, building codes. 6-story fall survival rate. Pregnancy complications that cause death. Elena's hands shook so hard, she almost dropped the laptop. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't stress. This was her husband researching how to kill her and make it look accidental. Her husband planning to murder her and their unborn baby for $5 million. The baby kicked inside her. Hard. Like she knew. Like she was saying run. Elena took photos of everything with her phone. Sent them to her sister Rosa with a message. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. She opened his banking apps. Photographed the debts. The gambling accounts. The foreclosure notices. All of it. Evidence of motive. Then she heard the shower turn off. Elena closed the laptop, moved to the kitchen, tried to breathe normally. Marcus emerged 15 minutes later, dressed for a business dinner. He kissed her cheek, the casual affection of a husband, the practiced touch of a murderer. I'll be late tonight. Don't wait up. Okay. Her voice sounded surprisingly normal. Marcus left. Elena waited 10 minutes to make sure he was really gone. Then she started packing. 1 bag. Just essentials. Clothes. Documents. The flash drive with the photos. She'd go to Rosa's. File for divorce. Get a restraining order. The evidence was clear. The police would have to take this seriously. Elena moved to the penthouse like a ghost. 6 months pregnant and running for her life. She was zipping the bag when she heard the front door open. Marcus wasn't at dinner. Marcus had suspected something. Maybe he checked his laptop remotely and seen it had been opened. Maybe he put cameras Elena didn't know about. Maybe he just felt the shift in her energy. He walked into the bedroom and saw the packed bag. Saw Elena's guilty face. For a moment, neither of them moved. Going somewhere? Elena's mind raced. Lie. De-escalate. Survive. Just packing some things to donate. Maternity clothes that don't fit right. With your passport? With our marriage certificate? He'd seen inside the bag. Elena abandoned the lie. I'm leaving, Marcus. I know about the gambling. The debts. I know you're in trouble. I can't stay here. His face did that thing. That terrible thing where all the humanity drained out and something cold moved in. You went through my computer. It was open. I saw your searches, Marcus. I know what you're planning. You don't know anything. He moved toward her. Elena backed up. Her back hit the wall. You were researching how to kill me. How to make it look like an accident. For the insurance money. That's insane. You sound paranoid. Elena, pregnancy hormones are making you unstable. I have screenshots. I sent them to Rosa. If anything happens to me, people will know. Silence. Marcus processed this. His backup plan of making it look accidental was gone. If Elena died now, he'd be the obvious suspect. Unless he could spin it differently. Suicidal. Mentally unstable. Jumped on her own. You're not leaving. Yes, I am. Get out of my way. Elena tried to move past him. Marcus grabbed her. Not her arm this time. Her shoulders. He pushed her back against the wall hard enough that her head bounced off the plaster. Everything I'm in is because of you. Because I had to maintain the lifestyle you expected. The penthouse. The clothes. All of it. I never asked for any of this. I was happy in my old apartment. You insisted on all of it. You're my wife. You're supposed to support me. Not abandon me when things get difficult. You were planning to murder me. I was planning to survive. His honesty was somehow more terrifying than the lies. Elena tried to push him away. 6 months pregnant. Versus a man twice her strength. There was no contest. Please, Marcus. Please just let me go. You can have the penthouse. Everything. I just want to leave. You think I can let you walk away? With evidence? With my child? You'll destroy me. Then let's figure something out. Counseling. Debt consolidation. There has to be another way. There is no other way. He dragged her toward the balcony. The penthouse had a wraparound balcony. 6 floors up. Beautiful views. Decorative railing that met code but wasn't particularly high. Elena realized what was happening. No, Marcus, don't. Please, God, don't do this. She fought, clawed at his arms, screamed. In a building with thick walls and neighbors who minded their business, her screams disappeared into the December night. Marcus dragged her to the railing. Elena gripped it with everything she had, her fingers wrapped around the metal. She was begging now, incoherent pleading. Our baby, Marcus, our baby. Your child is inside me. He leaned close, his breath hot on her ear. You really think I ever wanted that thing inside you? You're worth $5 million dead. Elena, alive. You're just a liability I can't afford anymore. The words from the opening. The words that would haunt Elena forever. No, Marcus, don't do this. We can fix this. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it. There's nothing to fix. I loved you. How can you do this? His hands shifted. Elena felt the change. From holding to pushing. She looked into his eyes one last time. Saw absolutely nothing there. No love. No remorse. Just cold calculation. The push was hard. Deliberate. Professional. Elena's grip on the railing broke. Her feet left the balcony. And suddenly there was nothing under her but air and gravity and the certainty of death. The scream that came out of her didn't sound human. It was pure animal terror. 6 stories. She was falling 6 stories. The windows of the building passed in a blur. Time did that impossible thing where it stretched and compressed simultaneously. Each second lasting forever. All of it happening too fast. Elena's mind fragmented. Random thoughts firing. Her mother's face. Her student's artwork on her old classroom wall. The baby inside her who'd never take a first breath. Adrian. Why was she thinking of Adrian? She hadn't thought about him in months. But in this moment of absolute terror, his face appeared in her mind clear as day. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy couldn't protect you. 4th floor. 3rd floor. The ground approaching impossibly fast. Physics didn't lie. A 6-story fall. Terminal velocity. Concrete impact. No one survived this. No one. 2nd floor. Elena could see the sidewalk. Could see individual cracks in the concrete that would break her body. Then something changed. A car. Directly below. Where had that car come from? It wasn't there when Marcus pushed her. Or was it? Time was meaningless in freefall. Black. Sleek. Expensive. Elena registered these details in a fraction of a second before impact. She hit the roof of the Rolls-Royce at terminal velocity. The sound was catastrophic. Metal crunching. Glass shattering. Car alarms triggered. The roof collapsed inward from the force. But it didn't collapse completely. The reinforced structure, the advanced engineering, the bulletproof modifications the owner had installed after a kidnapping threat 6 months prior. All of it combined to create a cushion that shouldn't have existed. Elena's body hit metal instead of concrete. Still devastating. Still potentially fatal. But the car absorbed just enough impact. Just enough force. The difference between certain death and maybe, possibly, miraculously surviving. Everything went black. Pain existed somewhere far away. Elena's consciousness fled from the trauma. The last thing she registered was warmth. Someone touching her face. A voice she recognized from dreams. Elena. Oh, God. Elena, stay with me. Please. Please stay with me. Inside the Rolls-Royce, 60 seconds earlier, Adrian Castellano had been reviewing contracts. He'd just purchased this building complex. 6 properties. Mixed residential and commercial. Good investment. The final walkthrough was scheduled for tomorrow morning, but Adrian was in the neighborhood, decided to drive by, look at his newest acquisition. His driver had pulled up to the curb directly in front of the building. Adrian sat in the back seat. Papers spread across his lap, numbers that represented millions of dollars, but somehow felt meaningless lately. He was successful, wealthy beyond imagination, and completely empty. 33 years old. No wife, no kids, no one to build this empire for except employees and family. Who didn't need any more money? He thought about Elena more than he should. Knew she was married. Knew he needed to move on. Couldn't figure out how. Then he heard screaming. Adrian looked up from his contracts. The sound was coming from above. He opened the car door, stepped halfway out, looked up at his building. Someone was falling. The moment stretched. Adrian's brain processed what his eyes were seeing. Human body, female, falling from the 6th floor, dark hair streaming, pregnant belly visible even from this distance. Recognition hit him like electricity. Elena, he knew her body, knew the shape of her even 6 stories up, even after 7 years. Some part of your soul recognizes a person you never stopped loving. Elena. Adrian screamed her name. His driver looked up, saw what was happening, reacted on instinct, accelerated the car forward, trying to position under her, try and move out of the way. Neither of them knew. It happened too fast. Elena hit the roof of the Rolls-Royce with the force of a small meteor. The impact was deafening. The roof collapsed inward. The car's frame groaned. Every airbag deployed. Glass cracked in spiderweb patterns. The suspension bottomed out. For a horrible second, Adrian thought the entire roof would cave in and crush them all. But it held. Barely. The modifications Adrian had made. The reinforced structure meant to stop bullets. It stopped Elena's 6-story fall just enough. Adrian was already moving. His driver was screaming into a phone. 911. We need ambulances. Someone fell 6 stories. Hurry. Adrian climbed out his door, scrambled onto the hood, pulled himself up toward the destroyed roof where Elena's body had created a crater in his car. She was unconscious, bleeding from a head wound, her arm bent at an angle that made Adrian's stomach turn. But her chest was moving. Shallow breaths. She was alive. Impossibly, miraculously alive. Elena, baby, can you hear me? It's Adrian. You're gonna be okay. I've got you. His hands shook as he checked her pulse. Weak but present. He was afraid to move her, afraid of spinal injuries, but also terrified of leaving her on the unstable roof. Sirens already. Someone else had called. The building security. Neighbors. Help was coming. Adrian stripped off his jacket, tucked it around Elena carefully. His hands came away red with her blood. He pressed his palm against the head wound, trying to slow the bleeding, trying to do something useful while feeling completely helpless. Her eyes fluttered, open halfway, unfocused and glassy. Adrian? Her voice was so quiet he barely heard it. I'm here. I'm right here. Don't try to talk. Help is coming. The baby. I know. The paramedics will take care of both of you. Just stay awake, okay? Stay with me. How are you here? Coincidence. Miracle. Fate. I don't know. But I'm here. Her hand moved weakly. Found his. Their fingers intertwined sticky with blood. He pushed me. Marcus pushed me. What? My husband. He pushed me off the balcony. The words didn't make sense. Adrian's brain refused to process them. No. It was an accident. You fell. He tried to kill me. For the insurance. Adrian, he tried to kill me. Her eyes closed again. Adrian's mind reeled. Murder attempt. Elena's husband tried to kill her. Pushed her off a balcony. While she was pregnant with his child. Rage filled Adrian's chest. Murderous, violent rage that he'd never felt before. But he pushed it down. Later. He could feel that later. Right now, Elena needed him present. The paramedics arrived. For minutes response time. Fast for this neighborhood. They swarmed the car. Started assessing Elena. Asking Adrian questions he could barely answer. Do you know her? Yes. Yes. I know her. Her name? Elena Rodriguez. Elena Thompson now. She's 6 months pregnant. The paramedics worked with efficient speed, carefully extracting Elena from the crater in the roof, securing her neck, getting her on a backboard. For lines, oxygen mask. Adrian stayed close, holding her hand when they'd let him. moving back when they needed space. His driver had already pulled the security footage from the car's cameras, had it ready for police. Within 10 minutes, Elena was in an ambulance. Adrian climbed in without asking permission. The paramedics started protest, saw Adrian's face and decided against it. The ambulance screamed through the city. Elena drifted in and out. The paramedics worked frantically. We're losing her blood pressure. Start another line. Fetal heartbeat is dropping. We need to move. Hold on, Elena. Please just hold on. Adrian prayed for the first time since childhood. Incoherent bargaining with a God he wasn't sure he believed in. Take anything. My money. My company. Everything I have. Just let her live. Let the baby live. The ambulance pulled into the trauma bay. Elena was rushed inside. A nurse stopped Adrian at the door. You can't come back here. Are you family? What was he? Her ex-boyfriend? The man who let her go? The idiot who chose work over the love of his life and had regretted it every single day since? I'm the person who loves her most in this world. Does that count? The nurse's face softened. There's a waiting room on the 3rd floor. We'll update you as soon as we can. She disappeared through the doors. Adrian stood alone in the hallway, covered in Elena's blood, shaking with adrenaline come down. His phone was ringing. His driver, his assistant, people who had heard something happened. Adrian ignored all of it, pulled up his contacts, found the name he needed. Rosa answered on the 2nd ring. This is Rosa. Rosa, it's Adrian Castellano. I don't know if you remember me, but I used to date your sister, and you need to get to County General Hospital right now. Elena's been hurt badly. She fell from her apartment balcony. Silence. Then, she didn't fall. She sent me messages an hour ago. Evidence. She said if anything happened to her, it wasn't an accident. Oh, God. Did Marcus do this? Did he actually do this? She told me he pushed her right before the paramedics came. She said he tried to kill her. I'm on my way. Don't let anyone near her who isn't family. Rosa hung up. Adrian made his way to the waiting room. 45 minutes passed. The longest 45 minutes of his life. A doctor emerged. Family of Elena Thompson? Adrian stood. That's me. The doctor looked at his blood-covered clothes. Didn't question it. She's alive. We've stabilized her for now. But her injuries are extensive. 3 broken ribs. Punctured lung. Fractured spine. Severe concussion. Internal bleeding we're working control. She's going to surgery now. And the baby? We found a heartbeat. It's weak, but it's there. The pregnancy is in distress. We're doing everything we can. Can I see her? Not until after surgery. That'll be hours. I suggest you clean up. Maybe go home and... I'm not leaving. The doctor nodded. Left. Adrian collapsed into a waiting room chair. Put his head in his hands. That's how Rosa found him 20 minutes later. Elena's sister, looking terrified and furious. She recognized Adrian immediately. What happened? Tell me everything. So Adrian did. The fall. The impossible landing. Elena's words about Marcus. All of it. Rosa listened with tears streaming down her face. When he finished, Rosa pulled out her phone. She sent me this 90 minutes ago. She showed Adrian the photos. Marcus's search history. The life insurance policy. The debts. All of it. Evidence of premeditated murder. We need to call the police. Already did. From the car. They're sending detectives. Right on cue, 2 detectives arrived. Detective Sarah Chun and Detective Mike Ramirez. They took statements from both Adrian and Rosa. Looked at the evidence on Rosa's phone. This is pretty damning, Detective Chin said. But we'll need the victim's statement. And we'll need to process the scene. Where's the husband now? No idea, Rosa said. Probably destroying evidence. We'll pick him up. Don't worry. But Adrian was worried. Because men like Marcus, men with money and lawyers and narcissistic confidence, they often found ways to slip through justice's fingers. And if Marcus got away with this, if he somehow walked free, Adrian would make sure he never got close to Elena again, even if it cost Adrian everything he'd built. Hashtag part 2, 6,000 words. The detectives left to get a warrant for Marcus's arrest. Adrian and Rosa sat in the waiting room. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The silence was heavy with fear and rage and helplessness. All they could do was wait. Hours passed. A nurse came out periodically with updates. Elena was still in surgery. The bleeding was controlled. The baby was holding on. Small mercies that felt enormous given the circumstances. Adrian got up the pace. Rosa watched him. You still love her? It wasn't a question. Adrian stopped walking, looked at Rosa, saw no judgment in her face. Just observation. I never stopped. She loved you too. For a long time after you broke up. Maybe she still does. Somewhere under all the trauma Marcus put her through. I should have fought harder to make it work. Should have found balance. Instead, I let her go and she ended up with a monster. You can't blame yourself for what Marcus is. That's on him. Evil is always a choice. Adrian sat back down, rubbed his face with hands that still had Elena's dried blood under the fingernails. When I saw her falling, when I realized it was her, I've never felt terror like that. Like my heart was being ripped out of my chest while it was still beating. But you were there. Right place. Right time. That's not coincidence, Adrian. That's divine intervention. You were meant to save her. What if I can't? What if she doesn't make it through surgery? Then you'll have given her a chance she wouldn't have had otherwise. You'll have made sure Marcus doesn't get away with it. That counts for something. It was 3 a.m. when the surgeon finally emerged. Dr. Patricia Okafor. She looked exhausted, but her face held something that might have been cautious optimism. She made it through surgery. We repaired the internal bleeding, set the broken bones. Her spine has a compression fracture, but we don't believe there's permanent paralysis. Won't know for certain until she wakes up, and we can do neurological tests. And the baby? Rosa asked, still showing a heartbeat. The pregnancy is remarkably intact given the trauma. We're monitoring closely. The next 48 hours are critical for both of them. Can we see her? She's in recovery now. Give us another hour to get her settled in ICU. Then immediate family can visit briefly. Rosa nodded. Dr. Okafor left. Rosa turned to Adrian. You should be there when she wakes up. I'm not family. You should be there. You save her life. You're more family than the man who tried to end it. An hour later, a nurse led them to the ICU. Elena was in a private room. Monitors surrounded her bed, beeping steadily. For lines ran into both arms. A ventilator breathed for her. Her face was swollen and bruised. Bandages covered the head wound. But she was alive. Her chest rose and fell. Her heart kept beating. Adrian approached the bed slowly, like she might disappear if he moved too fast. He took her hand carefully. Mindful of the 4, her fingers were cold. He wrapped both his hands around them, trying to share warmth. I'm here, Elena. You're safe now. I promise you're safe. Rosa stood on the other side of the bed, smoothed Elena's hair back from her forehead. Tears dripped onto the sterile sheets. You fight, Hermana. You fight for that baby. Fight to come back to us. We need you. The machines beeped their mechanical rhythm. Elena didn't respond. The sedation kept her under, protected her brain from the trauma, let her body focus on healing. Adrian stayed all night. Rosa eventually went home to update their parents, to get clothes and supplies for a long hospital vigil. Adrian sat in the uncomfortable chair beside Elena's bed, held her hand, watched her breathe, prayed to God he'd ignored for decades. Dawn came through the hospital window, pale winter light that made everything look fragile. A different nurse came to check Elena's vitals. She looked at Adrian with sympathy. You should get some rest. We'll call if anything changes. I'm staying. The nurse didn't argue. She'd seen enough love in these rooms to recognize it. She finished her checks and left them alone. Adrian's phone buzzed. Detective Chun. He stepped into the hallway to answer. We arrested Marcus Thompson 2 hours ago. Found him at his lawyer's office. He lawyered up immediately, refusing to talk. But we processed the apartment. Found evidence of a struggle. Blood on the balcony railing. Security footage from a neighbor's camera that shows the whole thing. You have him on video? Grainy but clear enough. Shows him dragging her to the balcony. Shows the push. His lawyer is already trying to suppress it, but it's not going away. This is attempted murder. Premeditated. He's not walking on this. Good. How's Elena? Alive. Barely. Still unconscious. When she wakes up, we'll need her statement. But there's no rush. We have enough to hold him. Detective Chin hung up. Adrian went back into the room, sat back down, picked up Elena's hand again. They got him. He's in custody. He can't hurt you anymore. The monitors beeped. Elena slept on, unaware that justice was already moving, unaware that she'd survived the unsurvivable, unaware that the man who'd loved her first was holding her hand like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. 3 days passed. Elena remained sedated. The doctors slowly reduced the medication, letting her rise toward consciousness. On the 4th day, her eyes opened. Confusion first. The fluorescent lights too bright. The machines too loud. Pain everywhere. Elena tried to move and gasped. Everything hurt. Everything. Don't move, sweetheart. You're in the hospital. You're safe. Rosa's voice. Elena turned her head slightly, saw her sister, tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Rosa held a cup of water with a straw to her lips. Small sips. What happened? You don't remember? Elena's face changed. Memory flooding back. The balcony. Marcus. The push. The fall. Her hand went to her stomach. Panic in her eyes. The baby. Is my baby still there? Still fighting. Just like her mama. Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. Relief and trauma and overwhelming emotion. Rosa wiped them away gently. Marcus pushed me. He tried to kill us. I know. He's in jail. The police have him. He's not getting out. How am I alive? A 6-story fall. No one survives that. Rosa smiled through her own tears. You landed on Adrian's car. What? Adrian Castellano. He was parked right below your building. You hit the roof of his Rolls Royce. The car broke your fall. He's the one who called the ambulance. Stayed with you. He's been here every day. Elena. Adrian is here? He just want to get coffee. He'll be back in a minute. He hasn't left the hospital, except to shower and change clothes. For days he's been here. Elena processed this. Adrian, her ex-boyfriend, the man she'd loved and lost and tried to forget, he'd save her life. Been here while she was unconscious. Why? The door opened. Adrian walked in holding a terrible hospital coffee. He saw Elena's open eyes and froze. The cup slipped from his hand. Coffee splashed across the floor. Neither of them noticed. You're awake. His voice cracked. Elena stared at him. 7 years since she'd seen him in person. He looked older, more handsome somehow. Successful in a way that came from hard work, not inheritance. And he was looking at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd ever whispered. You saved my life. I happen to be in the right place. Rosa says you've been here. Every day. I needed to make sure you were okay. Elena's eyes filled with tears again. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you for something like this. Adrian moved closer to the bed. Careful, like she might break if he got too close. You don't have to thank me. I'm just glad you're alive. When I saw you falling, when I realized it was you, I thought my heart was going to stop. How did you even know it was me? I just knew. Some part of me recognized you even 6 stories up, even after all these years. The air between them held 7 years of unspoken words. Regret. Love that never quite died. Timing that had always been wrong. Rosa cleared her throat. I'm going to get some real coffee. Give you two a chance to talk. She left. Elena and Adrian were alone for the first time since that coffee shop breakup, nearly a decade ago. I'm sorry, Elena said, for how my life turned out, for being stupid enough to marry someone like Marcus. Don't apologize for being victimized. Marcus is a predator. He targeted you. That's not your fault. I ignored red flags. My sister warned me. I didn't listen. Love makes us blind sometimes. Trust me. I know about making the wrong choices. Elena looked at him. Really looked. You seem different. More settled. 7 years of building a company will do that. And 7 years of regretting the biggest mistake I ever made. What mistake? Letting you go. The monitors beeped in the silence that followed. Elena's heart rate picked up slightly. The machine registered it. Adrian noticed. I shouldn't have said that. You just woke up from major trauma. This isn't the time. No, I'm glad you said it. I regretted it too, for a long time. Then I convinced myself I was over you, that I'd moved on. Clearly my judgment was impaired. You loved someone who didn't deserve it. That doesn't mean you were wrong to love. It means he was wrong to abuse that love. The detectives came later that afternoon. Elena gave her full statement. Every detail. The abuse. The discovery. The confrontation. Marcus's exact words before he pushed her. She spoke, clearly despite the pain. Despite the trauma. Because monsters only win when their victims stay silent. The statement was recorded. Documented. Added to the mountain of evidence against Marcus Thompson. Detective Chun looked satisfied. His lawyers trying to negotiate a plea deal. We're not offering anything less than 25 years. With the evidence we have, he'd be stupid to take this to trial. I want him to face a jury, Elena said. Her voice was quiet but firm. I want 12 people to hear what he did. I want the world to know what kind of man hides behind expensive suits and charity galas. That's your right. And honestly, with this evidence, he'll get more time from a jury than any plea deal. The detectives left. Elena was exhausted. Rosa had returned with their mother. Carmen Rodriguez looked at her daughter with a mother's anguish. All the pain she couldn't prevent. All the wounds she couldn't heal. Mi Nina. Mi preciosa Nina. She kissed Elena's forehead, held her hand, said prayers in Spanish that had protected their family for generations. Adrian excused himself, gave them privacy, but he didn't go far, just to the waiting room, where he could respond if Elena needed him. 2 weeks passed. Elena improved daily. The ventilator came out. The 4 lines reduced. Physical therapy started. Painful sessions where Elena relearned how to walk without her spine screaming in protest. The baby remained stable. Somehow still growing. Still developing. Medical miracle didn't adequately describe it. Marcus remained in jail. Bail denied due to flight risk and severity of charges. His company officially filed bankruptcy. The media had a field day. Millionaire CEO attempts to murder pregnant wife. The story went national. Cameras outside the courthouse. Reporters trying to get comments from anyone connected to case. Elena's story became public. She hadn't wanted that, but there was no avoiding it. Her name, her face, the details of her abuse, all of it splashed across news sites and social media. Some people were supportive, sending prayers and encouragement. Others were cruel, asking what she'd done to provoke him, why she'd stayed, why she hadn't seen it coming. The victim blaming gutted her worse than the physical injuries. Adrian saw her reading comments on her phone one afternoon, saw her face crumple. He took the phone gently. Stop reading that poison. People who've never experienced abuse have no idea what they're talking about. They're right, though. I should have left sooner. Should have seen what he was. You saw what he wanted you to see. Abusers are expert manipulators. That's how they operate. I feel so stupid. You're not stupid. You're human. You trusted someone you loved. That's not a character flaw. Elena, that's called having a heart. She cried then. Really cried for the first time since waking up. Adrian held her carefully, mindful of her injuries. Let her soak his shirt with tears and rage and grief for the life she'd almost lost. Can you believe the timing in all of this? If Adrian had parked anywhere else, if he'd arrived 30 seconds later, Elena and her baby would have died on that concrete. If this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, show some love by hitting that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me what you think should happen to Marcus. Because what comes next will blow your mind. Don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear it. 3 months after the fall, Elena was released from the hospital. She couldn't go back to the penthouse. That was a crime scene anyway, sealed with police tape. Besides, she'd never set foot in that place again. Not willingly. She moved in with Rosa temporarily. Her sister had a 2-bedroom house with room for Elena and soon a baby. Adrian offered to buy her a place. Elena refused. She'd accepted enough charity, needed to rebuild her independence, but she did accept his help in other ways. The medical bills were astronomical, even with insurance. Adrian paid them without asking, set up a trust for the baby's future, made sure Elena had everything she needed without making her feel like a charity case. Their relationship was complicated, not romantic. Not yet, maybe not ever, but deeply connected. They had coffee every week, talked for hours, rebuilt a friendship that had existed before the love. Adrian told her about his business, the pressure, the loneliness of success. Elena told him about her dreams of teaching again, about her fear of being a single mother, about the nightmares where she was falling, and this time no car appeared to catch her. The baby continued to thrive, against all medical odds. At 7 months pregnant, Elena looked almost normal if you ignored the scars and the healing fractures. The doctors called it a miracle. Elena called it stubbornness. Her daughter had decided to live. Nothing, not even a 6-story fall, was going to change that plan. Marcus's trial was set for late spring. His legal team tried every tactic, suppressing evidence, attacking Elena's credibility, claiming she was suicidal, claiming the fall was an accident during a domestic dispute. But the video footage was damning. The audio clear enough. The financial evidence showed obvious motive. Prosecutor built a case that was basically airtight. 2 weeks before trial, Marcus's lawyer came with a final plea offer. 15 years. Eligible for parole in 10. The prosecutor called Elena. It's your decision. We can reject it and go to trial. But trials are unpredictable. A jury might give him less, might give him more. This guarantees he's locked up for a significant time. What do you think I should do? I think you should do whatever gives you peace. There's no wrong answer here. Elena thought about it for 2 days. Talked to Rosa, to her parents, to Adrian. Finally, she called the prosecutor back. Reject the offer. I want a trial. I want to face him. I want a jury to hear everything he did and decide he's a monster. 15 years isn't enough for trying to murder 2 people. The prosecutor sounded pleased. Okay then, we go to trial. And Elena, we're going to bury him. The trial started on a Tuesday in late April. Elena was 8 months pregnant, very visibly showing. The prosecution had coached her. Your appearance is part of the testimony. The jury needs to see what he tried to destroy. A pregnant woman. A mother protecting her unborn child. It was visceral, powerful, impossible to ignore. The courtroom was packed. Media, curious onlookers. Elena's family took up 2 rows. Adrian sat with them. Marcus was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit. Gone was the expensive suit, the polished veneer. He looked diminished, angry. His eyes found Elena, and his face twisted with something ugly. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Marcus Thompson is a man who valued money more than life. When his gambling addiction and failing business left him millions in debt, he didn't seek help. He didn't declare bankruptcy. He didn't do any of the legal, moral things a decent person would do. Instead, he took out a $5 million life insurance policy on his pregnant wife, and then he tried to collect by throwing her off a 6th-floor balcony. Premeditated murder. Cold, calculated, evil, and he almost got away with it. Almost, except for a miracle that put the right car in the right place at the right time. You're going to hear from Elena. You're going to see the video of what Marcus did. And when you do, you're going to know beyond any reasonable doubt that this man deserves to spend the rest of his life in prison. The defense's opening was weaker. Try to paint Marcus as a man under extreme stress. Elena as mentally unstable. The fall is a tragic accident during a heated argument, but it rang hollow, especially when the prosecution started presenting evidence. First, the financial records. Marcus's gambling losses. The debt. The foreclosure notices. The life insurance policy signed just weeks after Elena announced her pregnancy. The timeline was damning. Then the search history, projected on a screen for the whole courtroom to see. Life insurance payout accidental death. 6-story fall survival rate. How to make murder look like accident. The jury's faces showed disgust. Several jurors looked at Marcus with open contempt. Then came the security footage. Grainy, black and white, but clear enough. Marcus dragging Elena. Her obvious resistance. The struggle at the railing. The moment he pushed. Her body going over, falling out of frame. The courtroom was silent, except for someone crying. Elena realized it was her mother. Finally, Elena's testimony. She walked to the stand slowly. 8 months pregnant. Still moving carefully because of the spinal injury. She wore a simple dress that showed the scar on her arm, the fading bruises. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor was gentle, took her through the relationship, the red flag she'd missed, the escalating abuse, the discovery of Marcus's plan, the confrontation, the fall. Elena's voice shook, but she didn't cry. She looked directly at the jury as she spoke. He told me I was worth more dead than alive. He told me he never wanted our baby. And then he pushed me off that balcony knowing it would kill us both. The only reason I'm alive to testify is because of a miracle. Because Adrian happened to be parked below. Because his car happened to have reinforcements that absorbed enough impact to save my life. Marcus didn't fail because he changed his mind or showed mercy. He failed because God intervened. The defense attorney cross-examined, tried to rattle her, implied she was lying, suggested she jumped to escape an argument, and was now blaming Marcus. Elena remained calm. Why would I jump? I was 6 months pregnant. I wanted my baby. I wanted to live. Marcus pushed me because he wanted $5 million more than he wanted a family. Did you love your husband, Mrs. Thompson? I loved who I thought he was. The man he pretended to be. I never loved a monster who was hiding underneath. The cross-examination went nowhere. Elena was too credible, too sympathetic, too obviously telling the truth. Adrian testified next. Describe what he'd witnessed. The fall. The impact. Elena's words about Marcus pushing her. The defense tried to imply Adrian had ulterior motives. An ex-boyfriend trying to get revenge. Trying to eliminate romantic competition. Adrian shut it down. I don't need to lie to eliminate Marcus as competition. He eliminated himself when he committed attempted murder. I testify because I witnessed a crime and because the woman I've loved since I was 20 years old almost died. Those are my only motives. Medical experts testified about Elena's injuries. The statistical impossibility of surviving a 6-story fall. The miracle of the baby's continued development despite massive maternal trauma. Each expert emphasized how lucky Elena was to be alive. How easily this could have been a double homicide. The defense put Marcus on the stand. A desperate move. He tried to cry. Tried to act remorseful. Claimed it was an accident. That he grabbed for Elena as she fell, but missed. That he'd been in shock. Called 911. Rushed to the hospital. The prosecution destroyed him on cross. You called 911 45 minutes after your wife fell. Emergency records prove that. Where were you for those 45 minutes? I was in shock. Panicking. You were establishing an alibi. You went to a bar 3 blocks away. Bought a drink. Made sure the bartender remembered you. Made sure you had witnesses placing you away from scene. That's not true. We have the receipt. We have the bartender's testimony. You went to that bar at exactly the time your wife was being loaded into an ambulance. You weren't in shock, Mr. Thompson. You were covering your tracks. Marcus's face went red. His lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The jury saw him for what he was. A liar, a murderer, a narcissist who thought he was smarter than everyone else. Closing arguments were brief. The prosecution summarized the overwhelming evidence. The defense begged for reasonable doubt where none existed. The jury got the case at 3 in the afternoon. They deliberated for 2 hours and 40 minutes. The verdict came back at 6 p.m. The courtroom was packed again. Elena sat between Rosa and Adrian. Her hand found Adrian's. He squeezed gently. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor, on the charge of attempted murder in the first degree. How do you find? We find the defendant guilty. On the charge of attempted murder of an unborn child. How do you find? Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Cheers from Elena's family. Shouting from Marcus. His lawyer trying to calm him. The judge banging the gavel. Order. Order in the court. Elena closed her eyes. Let out a breath she'd been holding for months. Justice. Actual justice. The system had worked. The monster was going to prison. Sentencing happened 2 weeks later. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd heard thousands of cases and clearly had no patience for Marcus Thompson. Mr. Thompson, I've seen many criminals in this courtroom, but few as callous and calculating as you. You married a good woman, got her pregnant, and then tried to murder her and your unborn child for insurance money. The only reason you're not facing 2 counts of murder is because of divine intervention, not because of any mercy or humanity on your part. I'm sentencing you to 35 years to life. You will not be eligible for parole for 25 years. By the time you're eligible, you'll be 60 years old. Maybe by then you'll have developed a conscience. Bailiff, remove the defendant. Marcus tried to speak, tried to plead. The bailiff dragged him away. Elena watched him go, felt nothing, no satisfaction, no anger, just emptiness where he used to occupy space in her life. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Elena made a brief statement. Rosa and Adrian flanking her protectively. I want to thank the prosecutors who fought for justice, the jury who saw the truth, and everyone who supported me through the darkest time of my life. To anyone out there in an abusive relationship, please hear me. It's not your fault. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. And there's a way out. Reach out for help. Tell someone. Don't wait until it's too late. I almost died. My baby almost died. But we survived. And if you're in danger, you can survive too. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Please call them. Please get help. Your life has value. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. The cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. Adrian guided Elena to a waiting car. They drove away from the courthouse, away from Marcus, away from that chapter of her life finally, definitively closed. 3 weeks later, Elena went into labor. 2 weeks early, but the doctors weren't concerned. After everything her body had been through, early labor was expected. Rosa drove her to the hospital, called their parents, called Adrian. Adrian arrived before Elena was even fully dilated, showed up with flowers and terrified energy. You didn't have to come. Are you kidding? I've been invested in this kid since before she was born. I'm not missing her arrival. Elena laughed, then gasped as a contraction hit. Adrian looked panicked. Rosa smiled. First time in a delivery room? First time caring this much about the outcome. Labor lasted 8 hours. Not terrible for a first baby. Adrian stayed in the waiting room, paced enough to wear a path in the floor. Rosa was in the delivery room, coaching Elena through contractions and breathing and the overwhelming intensity of bringing life into the world. At 11:47 p.m., Esperanza Maria Rodriguez was born. 6 pounds 4 ounces. Healthy lungs that she demonstrated immediately with furious screaming. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Elena held her daughter and sobbed. This tiny human who'd survived the impossible, who'd held on through trauma and surgery, and every odd stacked against her. Esperanza. Hope. The name fit perfectly. Rosa went to get Adrian. He came into the recovery room, quietly, reverently, saw Elena holding the baby, and his eyes went suspiciously bright. She's here. She actually made it. Come meet her. Adrian approached the bed, looked down at the tiny face, the dark hair, the miniature fingers that gripped Elena's thumb with surprising strength. Esperanza, this is Adrian. He's the reason you and I are both alive. He's your guardian angel. The baby yawned. Adrian laughed, a sound of pure joy. She's perfect. Elena, you made something absolutely perfect. We made it through, both of us. You're the strongest person I've ever known. Elena's strength is absolutely incredible, isn't it? From falling 6 floors to bringing a healthy baby into the world. If this story is touching your heart, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to Dr. Samuel Chronicles for more life-changing stories. Comment below, what lesson are you taking from Elena's journey? Share this video with someone who needs a reminder of how strong they really are. The first few months of motherhood were exhausting and wonderful and terrifying all at once. Esperanza was a good baby, slept in reasonable stretches, nursed well, but Elena was still healing physically and emotionally, still having nightmares, still jumping at loud noises. PTSD didn't disappear just because the trial ended. She started therapy, real, intensive trauma therapy. Twice-a-week sessions where she unpacked everything. The abuse, the gaslighting, the fall, the guilt of not seeing it sooner. Her therapist was patient and firm. You're not responsible for Marcus's choices. Abusers are skilled at hiding their true nature. You're not stupid or weak for believing the man you married when he said he loved you. You're human. Slowly, Elena started believing it, started forgiving herself, started rebuilding the confidence Marcus had systematically destroyed. Rosa was an incredible support, co-parenting without judgment, helping with night feedings, giving Elena time to rest and heal. Their parents visited constantly, brought food, held the baby, reminded Elena she wasn't alone in this. And Adrian was there, not constantly, not intrusively, but present. He visited once a week, brought groceries, fixed things around Rosa's house that needed fixing, held Esperanza so Elena could shower or nap or just exist without responsibility for 20 minutes. He never pushed for more, never made Elena feel obligated, just showed up consistently, proved through actions that he wasn't going anywhere. 6 months after Esperanza's birth, Elena felt ready to reclaim parts of her old life. She reached out to Meadowbrook Elementary. Her old principal was thrilled to hear from her. We'd love to have you back. Part-time if that works better. Your old classroom is being covered by a substitute who's honestly not very good. The kids ask about you constantly. Elena started teaching 2 days a week. Rosa watched Esperanza. It felt amazing to be back in classroom, doing work that mattered, shaping young minds, creating art and joy and possibility. Teaching reminded Elena of who she was before Marcus, helped her remember she was more than just a victim or a survivor. Adrian came by one Saturday afternoon, found Elena in Rosa's backyard. Esperanza was on a blanket, 6 months old, sitting up, grabbing at grass and trying to eat it. Elena was painting, something she hadn't done since before her marriage. Watercolors, abstract shapes in blues and golds. Adrian watched for a moment before speaking. You're painting again. Elena looked up, smiled. Therapy homework. My therapist said I need to reconnect with things that brought me joy before trauma. Painting was always that thing. It's beautiful. It's messy, but it feels good. Adrian sat down on the grass. Esperanza immediately crawled toward him, grabbed his finger, drooled on his expensive watch. He didn't seem to mind. I've been thinking about something, he said, and I want to say it, but I don't want to pressure you or make things weird. So if I'm out of line, just tell me and we'll never speak of it again. That's a concerning introduction. Now I'm worried. I want to take you to dinner. A real dinner. Like a date. I know the timing might be wrong. I know you're still healing. But Elena, I've loved you for over a decade. I let you go once because I was young and stupid. I almost lost you permanently because I wasn't there to protect you from Marcus. I don't want to waste any more time. So if there's any part of you that thinks maybe we could try again, I'm all in. But if you're not ready or not interested, I'll respect that completely. I'll still be here. Still be your friend. Still help with Esperanza. Nothing changes, except I'll stop hoping for more. Elena put down her paintbrush. Looked at this man who'd saved her life. Who'd sat by her hospital bed. Who'd never asked for anything in return. Who was looking at her daughter with genuine affection. Who showed up, consistently, without drama or demands. I'm broken, Adrian. I have PTSD, trust issues, a baby that's not yours, emotional baggage that could fill a warehouse. That's what you'd be signing up for. I don't care about any of that. You're not broken. You're healing. And I want to be part of that healing, if you'll let me. As for Esperanza, I already love that kid. Biology doesn't determine family. Love does. What if I'm not ready? What if it takes me years to trust anyone romantically again? Then we take years. I'm not going anywhere. Elena, I'll wait as long as it takes. Elena felt tears on her face. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. One date. Let's start there. Slow. No pressure. And you have to know I come with a lot of conditions now. Therapy appointments. Baby schedule. Boundaries about physical intimacy until I'm ready. Patience with my flashbacks and nightmares. I can do all of that. Whatever you need. Okay then. One date. Adrian's smile could have lit the entire city. Esperanza squealed. Perfectly timed. Like she approved. Maybe she did. Babies were perceptive like that. Their first date was coffee. Simple. Public. Safe. They talked for 3 hours. About everything and nothing. It felt like college again. Like the beginning. But better because they were older. Wiser. More honest about their flaws and needs. The second date was dinner. Adrian picked a quiet restaurant. Not too romantic. Not too casual. Elena wore a dress that made her feel pretty, but not vulnerable. They talked about their dreams. Adrian's plans to expand his philanthropic work. Elena's hope to eventually teach full-time again. Maybe even get her master's degree in art therapy. By the third date, Elena let Adrian hold her hand. It was terrifying and wonderful. His hand was warm. Safe. Nothing like Marcus's grip that had always been just slightly too tight. This was gentle. A question, not a demand. She could pull away any time. He made sure she knew that. Months passed. The relationship grew slowly, carefully, built on friendship and honesty and respect. Adrian met Elena's extended family, came to Sunday dinners, played with Esperanza for hours, proved he wasn't performing. This was real. Elena met Adrian's family, his parents who'd worked themselves to exhaustion to give their kids opportunities, his younger siblings who were thriving because of Adrian's support. They welcomed Elena and Esperanza immediately, treated them like family, made space at their table without hesitation. A year after the trial, Elena moved into her own place, not Rosa's house, not an apartment Adrian bought. Her own place that she rented with money from teaching and the settlement from Marcus's seized assets. It was small, but it was hers. She decorated it with Esperanza's artwork and her own paintings. Create a space that felt safe, that held no memories of trauma, just possibility. Adrian helped her move, carry boxes, assemble furniture, never once suggested she should just move in with him, respected her need for independence, for proving to herself she could stand on her own. Their relationship continued to deepen, became romantic in the healthiest way. Elena worked through her trauma responses in therapy, learned to separate past from present, Adrian from Marcus, love from control. It was hard work, but worth it. On Esperanza's second birthday, Adrian was there for the party. Elena's whole family came, friends from teaching. It was loud and chaotic and full of joy. Esperanza smashed cake everywhere, opened presents with toddler enthusiasm, was absolutely the center of attention. Later that evening, after everyone left, after Esperanza was asleep, Elena and Adrian sat on her small balcony, first floor, no risk of falling. She'd chosen the apartment specifically for that reason. Thank you for being patient with me, Elena said, for not pushing, for letting me heal at my own pace. Thank you for giving me another chance, for trusting me with your heart after someone shattered it. I love you. I think I always loved you, even when I was with Marcus, even when I was trying to convince myself I'd moved on. I love you too. Never stopped. Never will. They kissed, gentle and sweet, full of promise and second chances and hope. Everything Marcus had tried to destroy, they were rebuilding, stronger this time, healthier, based on mutual respect instead of control. 3 years after fall, Elena stood in front of a room full of domestic violence survivors. She'd started speaking at shelters and support groups, sharing her story, offering hope to women who thought there was no way out. I know what it's like to love someone who hurts you, to make excuses for bruises and broken promises, to think if you just try harder, love better, he'll change. I know what it's like to feel trapped, to think leaving is more dangerous than staying, to believe his version of reality over your own instincts. But I'm here to tell you that you're not crazy. Your fear is valid, and there's a way out. It won't be easy. It might be the hardest thing you ever do, but your life is worth fighting for. I survived a 6-story fall because someone was there to catch me. But even if no one's there to catch you, you have to jump anyway. You have to leave. Because staying with someone who hurts you is a different kind of fall. One that kills you slowly instead of all at once. The women in the room cried, nodded. Several came up to Elena afterward, told her their stories. asked how she found the courage. Elena told him the truth. I didn't feel courageous. I felt terrified. But I did it anyway. And you can too. One step, one day, one choice at a time. You're stronger than you know. Elena's advocacy work became her passion. She partnered with organizations, raised money for shelters, lobbied for better protective order laws, used her story to create change. Marcus had tried to silence her permanently. Instead, she became louder, more determined, turned her pain into purpose. Adrian supported every bit of it, used his wealth and connections to amplify her voice. They became a team, partners in the truest sense, building something meaningful together. On a quiet Tuesday evening 4 years after the fall, Adrian took Elena and Esperanza to the building where it happened. Elena hadn't been back since that night, had avoided it deliberately, but Adrian thought it was time. Why are we here? Because you need to see something. They went inside, took the elevator to the 6th floor. Elena's hand shook, her breathing quickened. PTSD response. Adrian held her hand. You're safe. I promise you're safe. They walked to the apartment that used to be Elena's prison. It had been renovated, sold to new owners, but Adrian had arranged access. He led her to the balcony. Elena stopped at the doorway, couldn't make herself step out. I can't. Adrian, I can't go out there. You don't have to. Just look. Elena looked. The balcony was different now. Higher railing, safety modifications. But more than that, she saw where she'd fallen from, saw the distance to the ground, and survived. She'd fallen from here and lived, defied physics and probability and Marcus's evil intentions. You fell from here, and you lived. You survived what should have killed you. This place doesn't own you anymore. Elena, Marcus doesn't own you. You took back your life. I just wanted you to see that. Literally see it from this perspective. Elena stepped onto the balcony. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, but she pushed through, walked to the railing, looked down at the street below, the exact spot where Adrian's car had been, where miracle met timing, where her story changed from tragedy to testimony. I survived. You did more than survive. You thrived. You're teaching again, raising an incredible daughter, helping other women escape abuse. You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into something meaningful. Elena turned away from the railing, looked at Adrian. We should go. I've seen enough. They left. Elena felt lighter somehow. Confronting the place of her trauma had stolen some of its power. She wasn't fully healed. Might never be fully healed. But she was healing. That was enough. 6 months later, Adrian proposed. Not with a grand gesture. Just a quiet evening at Elena's apartment. Esperanza was asleep. They were on the couch. Adrian turned to Elena. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Both of you. I want to be Esperanza's dad in every way that matters. I want to grow old with you. Build a family. Create the life we should have had a decade ago. Will you marry me? Elena looked at the ring. Simple. Beautiful. Nothing like the ostentatious rock Marcus had given her. This was tasteful. Chosen for her, not for show. Yes, but I need you to understand something. I'm going to have hard days. Days where I'm triggered and difficult, and not the easiest person to love. Marriage isn't going to be a fairy tale. I don't want a fairy tale. I want real life, with real challenges, with a real woman who's been through hell and came out stronger. I want you, Elena, all of you, including the hard days. Then yes, I'll marry you. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Esperanza was Flower Girl, nearly 5 years old, beautiful and funny and completely unaware that she'd survived the impossible before she was even born. Elena wore a simple white dress. Adrian cried during his vows, promised to honor and protect and love her all his days, promised to be the father Esperanza deserved. Elena promised the same, to love Adrian, to build a life together, to keep fighting for her healing, so they could both be whole. It was the opposite of her first wedding. No performance, no pretense. Just two people who loved each other committing to face life together. Better and worse. Sickness and health. All of it Now let me share with you what Elena's story teaches us about life, about survival, about the human capacity to heal and overcome. There are lessons here that could save your life or someone you love. First lesson, trust your instincts. Elena ignored red flags because she wanted to believe in the fairy tale. We all do this sometimes. We silence our inner voice because we want something to be true, but your gut knows before your brain accepts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't dismiss your instincts for comfort or hope. That small voice warning you is trying to protect you. Listen to it. Second lesson, love should never hurt. Real love doesn't isolate you from family and friends, doesn't control your finances or monitor your every move, doesn't leave bruises physical or emotional. Healthy relationships include transparency, respect, freedom to be yourself. If someone who claims to love you makes you feel small, afraid, or worthless, that's not love. That's abuse. And you deserve better. Third lesson, pregnancy doesn't fix broken relationships. It intensifies whatever already exists. If there's abuse before pregnancy, it escalates during pregnancy. The statistics are clear. Domestic violence increases when women are pregnant because abusers see pregnancy as increased control or increased burden. If you're pregnant and in danger, please reach out. Your life and your baby's life depend on it. Fourth lesson, divine timing is real. Adrian being in that exact spot at that exact moment. The odds are astronomical. Coincidence doesn't cover it. Sometimes protection comes from impossible sources. Sometimes miracle is the only explanation. Never lose hope, even in your freefall moments. You don't know what's waiting to catch you. Fifth lesson, your story isn't over. Elena thought her life was ending on that balcony. Instead, it was beginning. The fall wasn't her end. It was her awakening. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes a catalyst for your greatest transformation. Your trauma doesn't define you. Your response to it does. Sixth lesson, healing isn't linear. Elena still has hard days, still has nightmares, still gets triggered by unexpected things. That's normal. That's part of complex trauma. Healing isn't about reaching a point where nothing hurts anymore. It's about learning to carry your pain differently, learning to live fully despite what you survived. Seventh lesson, strength isn't the absence of fear. Elena was terrified when she left, terrified when she testified, terrified when she opened her heart to Adrian again, but she did those things anyway. That's courage. Doing the hard thing even when you're scared. You're stronger than you know. Your fear doesn't disqualify your strength. Final lesson, sometimes lost loves return exactly when needed, not always as romantic partners. Sometimes as friends or guardian angels or the person who saves your life in ways you couldn't predict. Your ex isn't always your enemy. Your spouse isn't always your friend. Character reveals itself in crisis. Pay attention to who shows up, who stays, who protects. Those are your people. To anyone watching this who sees themselves in Elena's story, please hear me. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not weak for staying or for struggling to leave. Abuse is designed to trap you, to make you doubt yourself, to isolate you from help. But there's a way out. There are people who will help you. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. 1-800-799-7233. They can help you safety plan, find resources, connect you with local shelters. You don't have to do this alone. And if you're not in an abusive situation, but you know someone who is, don't ignore it. Don't assume it's not your business. Reach out. Let them know you see what's happening, that you're a safe person to talk to, that you'll help when they're ready. Your awareness could save a life. Elena's story is extraordinary, but it's also more common than we want to believe. Domestic violence affects millions of people, crosses every demographic. Wealth doesn't protect you. Education doesn't protect you. Love definitely doesn't protect you. The only thing that protects you is recognizing abuse for what it is and having the courage to leave. Elena fell 6 floors and survived. But thousands of women don't survive. They die at the hands of intimate partners every year. Mothers, daughters, sisters, friends, women with futures and dreams and people who love them. Women who stayed because they hoped he'd change, because they were afraid, Because they didn't know how to leave safely. Don't become a statistic. Don't wait for a miracle. Create your own miracle by making the choice to save yourself. You are worth saving. Your life has value beyond anyone's rage or control or financial desperation. You matter. Your story isn't over. And somewhere on the other side of your fear is a life you can't even imagine yet. A life of freedom and peace and genuine love. But you have to survive to see it. You have to leave to experience it. Elena's sixth floor fall lasted maybe 3 seconds. But it changed everything. Sometimes life pushes us off ledges we never saw coming. Betrayal, trauma, loss. Events that feel like free fall with no safety net. We don't control the fall, but we control what we do after landing. We choose whether to stay broken or fight to heal, whether to let bitterness consume us or transform pain into purpose. Marcus thought he was eliminating a problem. Instead, he created his own prison. 35 years behind bars because he chose evil over decency. His company destroyed. His reputation ruined. His freedom gone. Evil often contains the seeds of its own destruction. What you do to others has a way of returning to you. Elena thought her life was ending on that balcony. Thought the fall was her final chapter. But it was actually page one of a completely new story. A story of survival and healing and redemptive love. A story that's helping countless other women find courage to leave their own abusers. Your story matters too. Whether you've experienced trauma or not. Whether you're in crisis or not. The choices you make today shape the life you'll live tomorrow. Choose wisely. Choose bravely. Choose yourself even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. If Elena's story impacted you, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button and subscribe to Dr. Samuel Chronicles. We share stories that matter every single week. Stories that don't just entertain, but transform. Stories that carry lessons you won't forget. Second, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You might save a life. You might give someone the courage to leave, to speak up, to choose themselves. Third, comment below. What's the biggest lesson you're taking from this story? What resonated with you? I read every comment. Your words matter. Your story matters. Remember, your story isn't over. Sometimes the fall is just the beginning of your flight. Sometimes hitting rock bottom is a solid foundation you build your new life on. Sometimes the worst thing that ever happened to you becomes your greatest testimony. Elena is thriving now, teaching, raising Esperanza, married to a man who cherishes her, helping other women escape abuse, living a life Marcus tried to steal. That's the ultimate victory. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just escaping, but transforming. Not just healing, but helping others heal. You can have that too. Whatever you're facing, whatever ledge you're standing on, whatever fall you're in the middle of, there's hope, there's help, there's a future worth fighting for. But you have to choose it. You have to reach out. You have to take that first terrifying step towards safety and healing. Until next time, this is Dr. Samuel, reminding you that every ending is really a new beginning. That your value isn't determined by how others treat you. That you're stronger than you know. That miracles happen. That love, real love, doesn't hurt. That healing is possible. That your story matters. And that sometimes when you're falling, the universe catches you in ways you never expected. Be safe. Be brave. Be kind to yourself. And remember, you're never alone. There's always someone willing to catch you if you're willing to reach out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of this community that believes stories have power to change lives. Now, go share this power with someone who needs it. Until next week, keep surviving, keep thriving, and keep believing in second chances.